Feel free. This can be interactive. We're not that large a group. We had 150 people or so this morning, so we didn't take questions along the way. But this is a smaller group. I encourage you, if you feel free just to stop and ask a question if you have one along the way. Okay, so kind of starting. Who's got the clicker?
Right there, right.
Oh, I do. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Is it working?
No.
Click in your screen. No, try.
Got it. Okay. So here's the. Are you guys able to see the agenda?
Yeah. No. Yeah. No.
Who is the no?
Karen, Susan.
Are you guys logged into the go-to meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you seeing on your screen?
It's a scheduled session right from your calendar.
Maybe could you go offline and
I will email it to them afterwards.
We're recording this, so we can email this to you later.
Okay, I'm trying to get out of now.
Okay. Okay. Well, to kind of go through the points of the agenda, just as a quick summary of what we would like to cover this morning. One is why did the deal happen, and a little bit about RFE. Go through some natural questions. These are very broad questions. They may not be as specific as you may have from a sales perspective. We really tried to address this just from the general employee population. Who is Nudo? What are some of the market advantages of Nudo and Marlite? Who's leading the team? How will the Nudo leadership engage with Marlite? How do you spell success? What is the culture of Nudo, and what are the expectations of Marlite? And then respond to more specific questions. But you are welcome to ask questions along the way. So when did the deal happen? So as Greg mentioned, John reached a stage of his life from an age perspective, from a financial perspective. He was ready to exit the business. RFE, who owns Nudo, were interested in putting together the two leading brands. They've been interested in doing this for some time. There was a discussion of doing this a few years ago. But it's the two leading brands for the commercial panels. They had the financial wherewithal to do it. They also wanted to provide the broadest array of comprehensive solutions to the building and construction market. You say, okay, of course it's self-serving, because their goal is to grow the business and to grow the shareholder value. But in the process, it's the opportunity to develop a world-class manufacturing and product development solutions. A little bit about RFE. RFE, they're based out of New Canaan, Connecticut. They currently own about 14 companies across the United States. They invest money from pension funds. For instance, Missouri is a large investor in that. The pension funds out of Missouri. Michigan, I know, is another one. There are a lot of others across the country. They invest a portion of those. As you know, pension funds largely invest very conservatively, but they also put a portion of their money into to where it will give higher returns. RFE has a consistent record of giving very high returns to their investors. Some of the companies that they've owned that you may recognize is Great Clips, Keenan Advantage, which is a shipping company, Shelter Logic, which sells into the Home Depots and so on. RFE purchased Nudo in 2008 from the Nudo family. So they view that both the Nudo brand and the Marlite brand are both strong brands, and that together they'll add additional value. So going right into some of the questions and answers. First one is, nothing will change, right? That's of course wrong. Things will always change as you merge two organizations and cultures. Hopefully our goal will be is to take the best practices of both organizations and blend them together. So if you're blending the best practices together, there will obviously be some changes, but hopefully always for the better. Will Dover be closed? There's no intent to close Dover. Dover has some very unique talents and skills that complement what Nudo does. And as I said in our earlier meeting, that said, we all earn our stripes each and every day. And I none of us, are excluded from that. I feel like I get up every day, I earn my stripes. I don't worry about it. I don't live in fear because I said, what if I don't earn my stripes today? I think, as we go through, we'll have our pluses, we'll have our minuses, but on the overall, the goal is that we'll always be moving upward. So no intent to close Dover. Will benefits change? Absolutely not. In the near term, they'll be unaffected. Over the long term, we'll look at our insurance company, your insurance. We'll look to blend them together to see if we can have a larger pool of people. Nudo has about 200 employees. Marlite has a little over 200 employees. So collectively, we've got a pretty large base. You can spread the risk. You may be able to get some additional, maybe even be able to improve the package that we currently have without any additional cost. But in the process of doing that, there may be a give on something and a get on something else. It's really difficult to say at this point, but we'll certainly look at that. The goal is always to try to keep benefits as close or better than what you currently have. Will the Marlite brand continue? Yes, the Marlite brand is an exceptional brand in the market, and we would be foolish to do anything other than to continue the Marlite brand. Will John Popa stay? No. John has actually already left the building at this stage. He will not be engaged in day-to-day operations, and he's will continue to be supportive of Marlite. If there's anyone, any customer, or anyone has a question or anything, I'm sure he would be happy to give his endorsement of us and so on. But he won't be involved in the day-to-day business. I guess I have another page of questions I'll go through, but would anybody would like to ask anything on these that maybe I didn't respond clearly enough on? Okay, still have an opportunity at the end to ask more, so let me just move ahead. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
If we have any questions on the insurance, are we calling Marlite Human Resources? Or
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. No change in that.
Thank you.
Yeah. What we'll do is that if we're going to go in and improve the benefits or look at merging the two plans or so on, our Nudo team will work jointly with the Marlite team behind the scenes. We'll ferret all that out, and then each respective organization would communicate it back out to their employees. But again, we don't even know at this point that there will be, and that will change anything at all. But if it would be, it probably would be a little bit further down the road. And again, hopefully, it would be a positive change, not a negative change. Will Nudo honor the union agreement? Yes, we will honor all agreements that currently exist that we know of that Marlite has. Will we invest capital in Marlite? RFE has invested capital every year in Nudo. We've invested into multi-hundreds of thousands of dollars pieces of equipment. We've invested in new literature. We've invested in new websites. They've been very generous in making. They go through the same deal that anybody in a regular business would go through. They go through an ROI, and does the investment return? Give a return on investment. And they're investors. If you get a good ROI, they're willing to invest. Will we retain the distribution centers in Arlington and Santa Fe? We don't really have I did make a tour through both the Arlington and the Santa Fe, but it was just a quick tour with John Popa earlier. I don't know enough about them. I understand that they provide a real value of local service to the customers in that market. We just don't know enough at this point, so my failing to address it doesn't indicate any hesitancy or anything at this point. It just says I don't know anything about it to be able to comment. So at this point, I put it in the same category as Dover. Prove your value every day. It's got an ROI on it. Then it stays and so on. Will Nudo continue the Marlite bonus incentive program? This is probably more of a program oriented toward the facility here in Dover. or the people in the field associated with this as well?
Company.
Okay, it's a company-wide program. Okay, then, we believe very much in providing incentive programs for our employees. Every employee within Nudo is on some type of incentive program, and we just don't know about yours. If it's a good one and it appropriately awards team members for contributions to success, it'll be continued. If not, we will come up with one that does. But incentive programs are an important part of what we do. So just kind of addressing the broad topic again. We'll come back to your individual questions that you may have at the end. So you still have an opportunity for those. So make note of your questions if you have them. Putting the two brands together, again, puts the two leading brands, and collectively we really offer unparalleled, comprehensive solutions to the marketplace. We would have collectively, the largest product selection in the industry, the broadest distribution channels, and hopefully the highest level of service. And we'll talk a little bit more about service later. Greg mentioned it a bit at the outset. But I think this is a company that collectively you should be very proud to be associated with. Collectively, we will be around $175 million in annual revenue. Now, we're a private company, so we don't really go out and broadcast that very extensively. But you guys are members of the team. We want you to have perspective and say, so what's the value of being a $175 million company versus a $60 million company? You get the economies of scale of having a larger company. We should be able to purchase materials at the absolute best price because we can take the best practices of what Nudo was purchasing and the best practices of what Glass Steel was purchasing and apply those to both. Secondly, you can look at best practices from a manufacturing perspective. You have the, maybe we were able to afford equipment that you might not could have cost justified on your own because you didn't have enough volume to support that, and vice versa. You have additional financial strength. You have the ability to carry more inventory. Just a lot of values of being economy of scale, and I think the opportunity to provide for your customers, a broader selection of products. Flipping to the next slide gives just a background on Nudo. Many of you, if you've worked with Marlite for a while, you've heard of Nudo. Nudo has over its tenure, if you've been there a long time, it has gone through its ups and downs, as a lot of companies do. There was a period where the company had some challenges back in the 2011, early 2012 time period, and sometimes those challenges, live on for a while, and people repeat the stories, for 2 to 3 years after the challenges no longer occurred. We report, and we'll share with you earlier, or a little bit later, some of the scoring that we do, both internally as well as externally, on how we're doing currently, and the scores are showing very, very favorable, at this stage. The company was founded in 1954 by the Nudo family, acquired by RFE in 2008. Collectively, prior to the acquisition of Marlite, we had about 630,000 square feet. So theoretically, we're going to be around about 1 million square feet, all told, in manufacturing space now between the two companies. We'll have about 450 employees collectively between the two companies. Nudo is the leading provider of panels to a number of blue chip customers in the building, sign, transportation, and OEM markets. Some of these markets you participate in, some of them you do not. Some of the applications you'll see on this next page, some of them obviously you see are areas where you participate, like on that interior wall panels. But also we have the exterior AC aluminum clad material panels, exterior infill panels. We do trailer doors for trucks. We do sign panels for the sign industry, and we do mezzanine decking, as well as we have a number of OEM customers as well. So you'll see from that there are certain areas that we compete in, other areas that we're totally complementary. The next page just kind of, I guess verbally describes what I just said. A couple of areas, obviously laminated panels and FRP are things that that you guys at Marlite do, and you do it very well, and you do it, I think, in some cases in a different sector than we do. At Nudo. Nudo kind of focuses on maybe the more functional areas, and you're focusing a little bit more on the decorative areas. Not that we don't both spill over a little bit into each other's areas there. Two areas that you don't really aren't really, you don't have the manufacturing capability for, is for doing the vinyl extrusions and rivets, which we do, and also the poly sheets, which we do in Springfield. End markets, are a lot of the same end markets that if you were to put your end markets up there, a lot of these would be the same end markets. And again, I think that is the potential for synergies. Growth is a very key element for the company, both internal growth as well as growing through acquisition. The things that we do to grow internally is, in terms of obviously servicing the customer well is first and foremost. That's a given. But then developing our new website, literature, and new products. Last year, Nudo products on its core business, excluding acquisitions, grew at about 10% over prior year. Growth is a very important element of what we do. Beyond that, we've done a number of acquisitions over the last 2 years. Most of them have been small acquisitions, prior to Marlite. High Standard is based in New Hampshire. It's a company that did about $5 million in sales. Belcom laminated panel line out of Minneapolis. We acquired that in late 2014. Was again just $5 million or so. Prime Panels out of Springfield, and Prime was an offshoot of the Nudo family, but Tom and Denise Nudo left Nudo Products in 1995, founded Prime Panels, and we just acquired them in October. Midwest Folding Products in November of 2014, and then of course Marlite in January of 2015. We do not plan other acquisitions at this stage. I think at this point our goal is to really try to take and utilize the synergies that we have out of our two companies, and not only from a Marlite perspective, also with all of these other acquisitions we made in late 2014, is to really just kind of focus on bringing them all together. We talked about investing back in the business, and of course one is new machinery and equipment, but also in terms of marketing, literature, website, videos, and so on. This is just a sprinkling of one of the things that we've done over the last couple of years is we've revamped the entire literature of Nudo, putting it in a nice contemporary format, and also putting a level of consistency. Our literature had been developed over years of time, and it was the best thought of the day at the time that it was done. So by doing it all simultaneously, we were able to get a very consistent theme with all of our literatures, and also to develop an architectural binder to put it in. We also redid both of the websites for ourselves and for High Standard during the course of the last year. If you want to, by the way, if you want to get a little bit of a perspective of Nudo, just a quick 2.5 minute perspective. If you go to the www.nudo.com website, there's a video block right there at the very top. Don't do it now, please. But if you click on that, it'll give you about 2 minutes of just a real quick blush of who Nudo is. Now that video was done maybe almost a year ago, so it's a little bit dated. It obviously wouldn't include Marlite, neither does it include some of the other acquisitions that we've done over the last several months. But it would at least give you a real quick, without having to go through, and you can still go through the website, but it'll give you a real quick perspective. Okay, one thing that's really important to us is culture. my feeling is that every organization has got a culture, whether it's intentional or unintentional, and we have made a real effort to make sure that we have an intentional culture. And every organization has its own, and Marlite has a culture that is different than Nudo. Nudo's was different than the company I worked for prior to that. We're not trying to make everyone fit into the same mold. However, there are some basic tenets of culture that are very important to us. One is that we have a very focused organization, very professional in everything that we do. I think if you look at our literature and if you look at our newsletters, if you look at our goal is, we may not be perfect at it, but our goal is everything that we do, if you look at the video or everything, is to do it with as much perfection as we possibly can and be as professional in our appearance as we can. Customer sensitive, I'll mention this thing over and over again because I think that if we're customer sensitive, if we're employee centric, everything else is going to follow. We're very team oriented. That's why I'm having Mark on this call along with Greg. We're very team focused, and we will function together as a team from the executive level, down all the way through. Trustworthy, innovative, respectful, consistent, and we believe in giving back to our communities. So those are the core tenets of the company. Those are kind of non-negotiable. Those are important. They're important to me personally. I don't care about everybody can have their own personality as long as it kind of fits the core tenets. Here I'm going to go through just a couple of market opportunities. Now, don't be overly critical of this. I don't know whether this is something that we kind of developed. In fact, it was developed some time ago, and it may not be as totally appropriate today as it may have been at another time. So the example that I use is 7-Eleven, and I know 7-Eleven is not the giant with Marlite that it was at an earlier stage. So view in your own mind, this is Burger King. View it to whoever you want to view it as. But you have, if Marlite has interior wall covering of very, very nice looking decorative FRP, Nudo could augment that with either sign panels, glazing panels, the exterior, or so on. And I think it is an opportunity, and who knows how strongly we'll be able to accomplish this. Our deal in acquiring Marlite wasn't predicated upon this working. If it works, it will be gravy for all of us. But if you guys are really terrific at getting products specified, and it's something that is not a strength of Nudo. We have one architectural specialist, and that person works to get us specified in hospitals and in chains and so on. You guys are the masters at it. You guys do amazing at it, and you've got a team of people who are focused on A&D and in getting specified. If we can, with a stroke of a pen, get some of the exterior panel products and other products that Nudo does specified, if you've already got the architectural relationships, if you can get other things specified, then that will be a real gain for us overall as a company. Secondly, in looking at the geographic strengths of the two companies, this chart just takes simply the total sales of the company, or the total sales for each company for these various markets, and you can see Midwest region, Nudo is quite strong. That's where Nudo was based out of, and that's where the original Nudo family really kind of focused their efforts. There are other areas, obviously, where you have distribution centers that you're slightly stronger. Some of this is also going to be impacted by product mix and so on as well. But again, if we look at how can we kind of leverage ourselves in areas where where one is strong and so on, is an opportunity. Here's the team of Nudo. Again, this was developed prior to the acquisition of Marlite, so don't be concerned. There's not you guys aren't on the chart yet because we haven't we haven't taken the additional pictures of other people to put on there. But this is the way it existed, prior to, quite frankly, Tom Nudo is now a direct report to me for Prime Panels, and he's not reflected on there either. So we've got a little bit of updating to do on our charts. But Lynn Farrell is our Chief Financial Officer. Chuck Pinot is the COO in Springfield for Nudo. Harry Deneg is the VP of Exterior Panels, and Mark Judy is the VP of Business Development for Nudo. So visualize, we're going to add, of course I got to add Tom Nudo for Prime Panels, but then we would also add Greg Triplett onto that, as well as another gentleman I'm going to introduce in a second to you is Chris Pacini. So background on the executive team, I've got about 30 years of leadership experience. Built companies from $30 million to $300 million with multiple locations. My baseline experience was from TI in Dallas, but worked with TI in multiple locations. My degree is from Auburn University. Lynn Farrell, who's our CFO, VP of Strategic Development, 20 years of experience. He's been engaged in multiple buy-sell transactions, business integrations. His baseline experience was with Ford Motor Company and Ernst & Young, with his educational background at Indiana and University of Pitt. Mark Judy, 30 years of industry experience, regional national sales experience. He spent a lot of time at Sequentia and Crane, has an in-depth knowledge of FRP and building products. His educational background was in Washington State. And then Harry Deneg, who's the exterior panels guy, 30 years of experience. Really focused on porcelain exterior architectural wall panels, and his background is from University of Florida. Chuck Pinot, 30 years of operations. He's been with Nudo for 2 years. Lynn has been with Nudo for about 2 years, and I've been with Nudo for about 2 years. A little over 2 years at this stage. His baseline experiences at Rollins, Coca-Cola, with Northern Michigan and Webster University is his educational background. Chris Pacini is the new guy on the scene. Chris and I worked together for about 6 years, from 2005 to 2011. He's going to be the Vice President and General Manager of Marlight. So he will be here on an everyday basis and will be engaged in the factory operations. He'll also be engaged in the Santa Fe and the Arlington operations, and will be kind of from an administrative perspective here. Obviously Greg is going to have a direct line responsibility to me, and Kim is going to have direct line responsibility to Lynn. But just from an overall administrative area, in terms of administering, making sure that personnel policies and so on are administered across the company appropriately and so on, Chris will be engaged in. He is from the area. He's from Alliance, Ohio, which is about 40 miles from here. He got his bachelor's degree from Ohio University. He spent a number of times working in the I guess he's in Alliance, Ohio, national stamping. His family's off of this area. He's looking forward to moving back. So he will be here on an everyday basis. From a personal perspective, Darrell CEO will be here probably 7 or 8 days a month. Also be in Springfield a few days a month, and then beyond that, I will spend some time, at either trade shows or traveling to meet customers and so on. So I'll be very, very engaged with Marlight, whether I am here or whether I am not here. I'll serve as CEO of Nudo, CEO of Marlight, and CEO of the combined companies. Chris will be working, with Chuck Pinot in Springfield, looking at best practices from both organizations from a manufacturing perspective, as well as looking at purchasing and so on as well. And how can we better utilize the distribution systems? I'll be working with Greg and Mark, sharing best practices from a sales and marketing perspective on how to best serve our customers. Lynn will be working from an overall financial perspective in getting consistent financial reporting between the two organizations and providing that to our bankers and investors. He'll also be working with the IT team. We both use Sightline as our ERP system. Marlite is on one iteration back from Nudo. We'll probably want to bring them both to the same platform, but having the ability to share information between the companies will be very valuable as we begin to try to leverage off of the inventory levels and so on that we have. Lynn will also work with Kim on and with Chris and Chuck on the leveraging our supply chain as well as working on benefit matters. So this kind of describes Chris's role. I mentioned it before. Tom and his team will have direct line responsibility to Chris. So how do we measure success? Everybody still with me? You still following along? Okay.
California.
Great. Okay. Good deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of show you some of the barometers that we measured success on with Nudo. And again, I know to some extent Nudo and Marlite have competed with each other, and I want you to, as you look at this, not look at that this is Nudo trying to tell Marlite how to run a business or something. You guys have run a business and you run it very, very well. This is really this is more than even Nudo. So don't as you compete, don't even think this is new. This is really, I guess, the Darryl Rosser School of Management measuring. This is how I run the business. This isn't this wasn't the way it was run when I went there, but it's the way I feel. I've been very successful in managing a business, and the same concepts, whether they're exact or not, would be what I would want to use at Marlite. First of all, is an employee survey. We do employee surveys on an annualized basis. This shows 2013, 2014 for Nudo. We'll be doing a 2015 here within the next 30 days. We measure ourselves on a number of different criteria. How proud are you of the Nudo brand, job satisfaction, work environment, teamwork within Nudo, trust in the supervisor, trust in the overall leadership. Really, we're pleased overall with the results, but we take those surveys very seriously. They're anonymous. We don't want to know individuals, what they say individually. We're interested in the overall, and it doesn't matter what we did. Just like, for instance, we had a 9 out of 10 on overall leadership. I'm still bothered that we're not 10 out of 10. So it doesn't matter what we are. I want to be better. So if we do a survey here in Dover, and we will in the next 30 days, whatever it is, we'll look to develop. We'll listen. What are the issues? What can we do to improve it? And if it turns out to be that it's 9 out of 10, I'll be wanting 9.5. That's just my nature. On-time shipments is another measure. And if you look at this, and if you were to take this started in July of 2012, and it goes to, this one goes through September of 2014. And again, I just need to update the chart. If we were to look at it October, November, December, it would all be in the 99 category. So we're not hiding anything by the fact that we didn't show October, November, December. It's just it's just a little bit of a dated chart. But if you were to go back and look at this, it starts in July 2012. If you were to back this up to July 2011, you would see it bouncing around in that 85, 86 range. And that's where, if you had heard about Nudo challenges in the past, it probably was during that period of time, because the company wasn't doing so well. They had introduced a new ERP system at that point, kind of fell flat on their face, and they struggled for a period of time. And I don't say this pridefully, but I say it only as a matter of showing that it's important. I started in December 2012. I made that as a very first priority, that was a key thing to turn around. I was absolutely amazed at how quickly the team turned around. They were in a position that they were, I think they were probably struggling for leadership, but they were at a point of where they were struggling, and they responded amazingly. And so I'm really proud of the team. It is something they have continued. It wasn't just something that one and done. They've continued, as you can see, over the course of 2 years of continuing to keep that focus on on-time shipments. Safety performance is another important element. There's two bars on this page. The orange bar is what the national average is. and the blue bar is where Nudo's performance is. The next one is customer satisfaction survey. This one is a very important one to me, because if you're going to focus on the customer, you got to say, okay, well, how do you know that you're taking care of the customer? We go to an independent survey, and I will want to do the same thing, and probably within the next couple of weeks here at Marlight. Innovera administers the survey. It goes to every one of our customers. We give them our customer email address list of the contact person which we deal with, and they send out a very simple 3-question questionnaire to the customer. So it's not onerous for the customer to fill out. It asks the customer how willing would they be to recommend Nudo as a supplier, and they can rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. 7 8s are thrown out. 1 through 6s are detractors. 9 and 10s are promoters. So you take the promoters, subtract the detractors, and that's your score. The average industry score for our industry is a score of 10. And you can see if you went back to 2011, we were 0. And third quarter of 2012, we were 10. The blue line represents where we are. We had established a goal along the way of what we wanted to be. We said 60 is kind of where we would really like to be. If you're in the 65 to 70 range, they say that is really J.D. Power's range. That's top of the class. This is where Apple, Southwest Airlines, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. This is where the world-class companies, end up doing. So we're very pleased with that, but we don't take it for granted. We take a survey every 6 months. We just finished it. The one that shows fourth quarter 2014 actually just closed yesterday. So that's fresh information as of yesterday. I get annoyed because even though we're 73, and that was kind of, I didn't want to go down to 71. I'm really annoyed by that. Even though it's we're still in the stratosphere for that. And my competitive nature always wants to do better. We measure our operational performance on 5 variables, and our team members are rewarded appropriately for performance against this. Safety, on-time delivery, 99% is our criteria for on time. So you see there's 3 months there, May, July and August, that we were at 98 point something, but we missed 99. So you only get it for being close. At one point, 98 was our, a year ago, our goal was 98, but we elevated it to 99. Then we measure our sales team, and again, I'm a sports nut, so everything seems to be sports oriented. I'm not necessarily a NASCAR guy or an Indy guy, but the approach seemed to be appropriate. So each one of our territories has a car number, and the territory manager defines his car number. It's between he as manager and me. We don't disclose the car number to the rest of their associates, and it's not to embarrass anybody or anything, but everybody knows where they stand on the leaderboard, and it's measured against their target. Obviously, some people's target may be $3 million, and somebody else's target may be $10 million, and so this is normalized. If your goal was $3 million, are you 3.1 million? Or are you 2.9 million? And if your goal was 10 million, are you 10.1 or 9.9? So we measure it. Obviously, if there are people who are performing down on the, our top guy, the only person who gets their name, that really gets really called out is the leader, and so if you're the leader, your name does get thrown at the top of the, if you're in the number 1 position, you get called out, but everybody else is not. And if you're down in the bottom, then obviously we're talking. We're engaging. Our goal isn't to, if it's and we recognize that sometimes over a course of a month or 2 months or so, you have large orders come in, and you have droughts, where in order you're going to get something, but it didn't come in. So we take that with an understanding attitude. But we also, as the year progresses and, you get into the 9th month, the 10th month, and 11th month, you kind of expect those things are going to normalize out at that stage. And then you begin to get a little concerned and we begin to have more conversations. And again, my message to everyone is I don't really care if you're number 13 versus well, I do care, but if you're positive, that's the key thing. If you were number 13 and you were still plus 5% to your target, you're doing a great job, and we're proud of you. So, Nudo and Marlite. That's kind of my metrics show for Nudo. But looking back, back to the Marlite Nudo keys to success. Customer is king. I think take care of the customers, take care of our employees. Everything else will follow. We'll use the independent surveys as a means of finding out where are our weaknesses and what can we do to go to resolve those weaknesses. We'll take the employee satisfaction survey. We'll see where are we strong, where are we weak, and we'll take appropriate action accordingly. We'll make sure we have good safety and quality programs. And if we do all of those, I think the profitability and efficiency will just follow. So kind of wrapping up, I think, again, great opportunity, 2 leading brands with the largest product selection, the broadest distribution channel, highest level of service. So opening up to questions. You guys are probably going to get from the field, you're going to get from customers and so on, a number of questions. So I really would like the opportunity, if you can think of what some of those would be, so that we can respond to it collectively.
Do we tell them that Nudo has bought us out?
Do we tell them that Nudo has bought us?
Yeah, I think so. And we're going to send to you, if you haven't received it yet, the press release, so that you can see exactly, because they may see it come across the wire, they may see it through some of the publications that put this on the electronic circuit. So you absolutely, and I think you would say this is that RFE, who is the owner of Nudo, has also purchased Marlite, and that you guys that we will be working collectively as companies. There's some of the questions. I was talking with the customer service group earlier, so I'll throw these out as kind of pre-questions for you. Not to. And the question was, if customers ask, can they buy Nudo products through Marlite? And I think that is where those need to be brought to Mark's attention. To Greg's attention, and Greg and Mark will talk on this. If there are areas where either Nudo or Marlite has a market totally saturated, we got it covered. We're probably not going to want to go screw that market up, because all we're going to do then is go compete against ourselves, and we'll just all we'll do is be in a price war with ourselves and hurting our own margins. But if there's an area where we don't really have it covered, and there's an opportunity that one company versus the other one has some opportunities to gain market share in that, then I think we may want to look at those. And I think this is where only Greg and Mark, working together, will treat these things, at first it'll be a little extra burden on them to have to kind of deal with this. But I think as we go through it, we'll figure out some rules of the road that will say, okay, if it meets these qualifications, do this. If it meets these, do that. And if it meets these, do something else. I think what I would encourage you to do if you come up with someone who says, hey, can I do this? I think the thing we want to look at first is to probably get the low-hanging fruit. And so Mark and Greg and I are going to get together next week, and we're going to kind of sit down. And the good thing about doing it next week is, again, you guys will have maybe some early discussions with customers where some of these things will come up, and we'll be able to kind of sit down and say, okay, given this situation, what do we want our rules of the road to be, and so on. So be patient with us at first as we'll figure this thing out together. We're going to play it safe probably. We'll probably play it safe at first, you know, as because we don't want to create consternation in the marketplace. We don't want to create confusion in the marketplace. We don't want to lose momentum anywhere we have momentum and so on. We'll play it safe, and then as we get our footing and we understand, then we'll say, okay, where can we try to reach out and take advantage of our synergies.
Will we be sending those scenarios over to Greg?
Yeah, if you have any questions about what to do with the specific account, send it to me. And I can also help out from a sales perspective and customer service perspective. You'll see the press release, but you know, just some talking points. And the one thing I shared with our customer service group here is the fact that we have to make sure when we're asked this or when we share the information that we really put a positive spin on it, because it is a positive. And we're taking the best of two companies, merging them into one, and we're going to be made even better. So I think customers can certainly sense the attitude that we have, and we can be positive about this.
Happy to take any other questions now. Don't want to put anybody on the spot. If you don't have the questions, or if you want to address them separately with Greg offline. I am always very reachable. I'm just and Mark's on the line. He can probably tell you, but I'm just very, very intense and very, very passionate about being the best that we can be in our sector. And I can be reached on my cell phone at 205-213-5262, 24/7. Obviously your best to always get your answers, going through your normal channels, but we're a very very open company. We don't stand a lot on pretense or anything. We're if there's an opportunity that any of us need to be involved with, we will get engaged.
Greg, will you be sending us their email information?
Yeah, that's something that this is all really fresh today, so it's been kind of a whirlwind day, but we'll have an opportunity to talk about logistics and addresses and all kind of details moving forward. But if you have any questions, whether it's 8 to 5 Dover time or even off hours, feel free to contact me. You all have my cell phone number.
Okay, thank you.
If you to get a little bit more information about Nudo, if you go to our website, you can, again, I mentioned earlier the video, but if you go to the company about you section, we kind of, it wasn't by mistake that we said about you rather than about us, because we really think that in the end, even though it may be telling some information about us, it is really about how about you, the customer, how do we serve them. If you can go to that, you can see our newsletters, which are available there. Just click on the current issue or the previous issue or whatever. You'll get a tone for what the personality of our company is. You can also click on the executive profile. You'll get some more information. We'll be adding to that executive profile very, very quickly, but probably before the week is out, we'll be having Greg and Chris added to the executive team on the profile. We'll probably put, as we move along, we'll probably put a link on the Nudo site to Marlight, and we'll probably at some point put a Marlight, and we'll make sure that the press releases are featured. We're not ashamed of. I think neither group should be ashamed of this. It should be looked at as a positive, and one that we're not like, okay, well, if we get caught, we tell somebody. We should be proud to tell somebody that this is a plus for the company.
Will this webinar be available for us to print out?
I'm going to send you the recording after we're all done. So can get a copy of that.
Yeah, we actually don't have a problem with sending the presentation. I mean, it's there are no financial numbers in there that I think that would be problematic. So
If you would, though, this is Len Farrell speaking, just please keep it internally. Don't send it to, if you're going to excerpt something for customers, please run it by Greg or Daryl before you do, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Okay.
but for your personal perusal, there's nothing there that we would be opposed to.
That's Sheila Kraus. She's running the Santa Fe Springs operation. She's asking a lot of those questions. The sales force is normally not this quiet. Right, TJ? So, one thing, guys, is that I've really noticed today is Daryl is very engaging. He is having lunches with all of the personnel here in Dover today through Friday. So don't feel nervous about or concerned about asking him any questions at this point.
Yeah, this is Mark Judy. I can just add that I've been working with Daryl for a little over 2 years now, and when he says the customer comes first and the culture of respect, it's an absolute true. The customer will come first, and this is going to be a good thing. We have tremendous respect for the Marlight name.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, well, we won't hold everybody up longer. Feel free to reach out, ask any questions as they come along.